you know, veterinarians and chiropractors. I'm sure you've heard something maybe in the news lately. I know the news doesn't report everything, but you've heard somewhere that they're working really hard to get the dyes and the colors and the sweeteners out of children's food, particularly cereal. I mean, I know adults who just love cereal, and they love it with all the sugars and the dyes and the whatever, because it's addictive, because it's created so that you literally have an addiction to eating cereal. And funny, ironic thing, one of my brothers who in high school was probably a cereal addict. Like, he would eat a casserole dish full of cereal every afternoon because he loved it so much. And he was athletic, so he was working it off, so you couldn't really tell. And he was also a young man. That said, he now works for a cereal company, and he knows what all that crap is that goes into that cereal. And he says, nah, don't eat it. It's nasty. It's horrible for you. You should not eat that stuff. That said, they're working to get the cereal companies to remove the GMOs, the high fructose corn syrup, and the dyes and the colors out of your cereal. You know what they're not working to do? Take it out of your animal's food. That's right. It's still in the food that you're feeding those guys. You know, there is no natural dog food that is... Nope. Doesn't happen. They are putting those things in your dog food. They have been for years. That was probably the precursor to making cereal for kids, because it can sit on the shelf and never go bad. I know it has an expiration date on the box, but that doesn't really mean anything. Dog food, on the other hand, was created so that it would last and could be transported easily and was lighter than carrying a whole beef carcass into war. That's where dog food came from. And that was what inspired Purina, the checkerboard square. The people who initiated a lot of the cereal companies that began making cereal for your kids. And I don't know the date, but it happened after they began creating kibble dog food made for your dog. It's got all these bright colors, and it has the flavor and the odor that makes you think it's actually food. That said, it's in your horse food too. And so, just so you know, it's in the horse food. All the sugars are there, all the molasses. It's not real molasses, guys. It's high fructose corn syrup, flavored like molasses. And because they can make you think that it smells like, oh, something really nutritious for my horse, guess what? It's not nutritious. It's not really offering your horse anything beneficial. And that is why, we are in our animal chiropractic work. We are working to, there are two things. There are things that involve chiropractic, and one of them is aligning the spine, removing interference, and the other one is removing the environmental stimulus that cause the problems in your animal. And one of the biggest causes of the problems that cause alignments are toxins. And most of those toxins go in this hole right here that get those guys to not feeling well, that keep them from achieving their best goals, and that keep them from living the longest. For years, we've been working this problem, and more quietly, because we are much more focused on helping doctors out there who can remove vertebral interference. That being the first line of defense. The second one is to remove the environmental toxins, the environmental stimulus that are causing damage to your animals. For that, We always have been proponents of raw food for dogs. And most recently, we have developed a formula for horse food that is the closest thing you can get to a raw food for horses. I mean, let's think about what horses eat. They generally eat grass and foliage. They don't just eat grass. They don't eat uniculture grass. They eat foliage. They prune the trees and they pick different plants and they eat all kinds of things. And rose bushes are one of their favorite treats. That said, keep in mind that what goes into what they call horse food, any pellet, it's not a raw food. It's been highly cooked. It's been boiled in oil at 360 degrees for hours, and it creates trans fatty acids in the food. Trans fatty acids that make the cells within their bodies not communicate effectively from one cell to the other. And when that happens, then your horse gets problems like Cushing's and, diabetes and insulin resistance, and they can't figure out where it comes from. Just a magic mystery. You just had the luck of the draw. Not true. None of those things happen in a vacuum. And it's not a vacuum, and your horse doesn't live in one. So here at Animal Chiropractic Education Source, we train veterinarians and chiropractors to understand that they're not practicing in a vacuum either. That they need to be able to look at the entire environment in which that animal is working. So there's my Christmas treat for you. Merry Christmas. I am so happy to be in this community. I'm so happy to be able to work in this environment where we can help your animals and where we can train veterinarians and chiropractors to have more success in their practices when they begin to help their clients and patients understand the environmental stimulus that are causing their problems. Find us today at animalchiropracticeducation.com.